A popular bar and restaurant in Pacific Beach shut down indefinitely for failing to follow the public health orders just one day after welcoming back customers. Plus the new rules that Governor Newsom says are being finalized to reopen houses of worship across the state. And the new lawsuit challenging California's decision to move to an all-vote-by-mail election.
From the Scripps Studios, this is 10 News.
And good evening, I'm Steve Atkinson, and I'm joined remotely by my co-anchor Kimberly Hunt. We'll be checking in with her shortly. First, the county delivered a strong message this afternoon after a crowded bar in Pacific Beach was shut down for violating public health orders.
We simply cannot tolerate such blatant and intentional violations of the public health order. Our public health order requires retailers, restaurants, and other businesses that are allowed to be open in Stage 2 to ensure all required measures are implemented. It is also clear that any business that fails to comply with the county's safe reopening plans or the COVID-19 restaurant opening protocols may be required to close.
As our 10 News reporter Leah Pizzetti shows us, the move comes after the county released this video inside the El Pres showing customers ignoring social distancing requirements.
Just one day after restaurants are allowed to open with modifications for dine-in customers, the county is now sending a strong message. There are still rules to be followed. Within hours of being able to welcome customers back in, this was the scene at one Pacific Beach bar. This video showing crowds at El Pres, leading the county to play the video during a press conference as an example of what not to do. 10 News was there when police arrived at El Pres Friday to tell them they had violated county rules and are now shut down.
They will be closed, yes, until they get approval from the county.
The owner of neighboring business PB Pokey says the large groups of people ended up in his restaurant Thursday.
People couldn't get into some bars because they didn't have a mask, so they would ask us, do you have any masks?
Other images show a large line waiting to get into Mavericks, another Pacific Beach location. These owners telling 10 News their biggest problem on the first night back open was this line, and they have new methods to help people keep their distance that they'll be using now. Day one proving to be a day of learning how serious to take the rules.
I mean, I agree with businesses opening. I'm very for that. I just think it was a learning experience for everybody.
Police saying they can't monitor every business, so it's up to owners to enforce the rules and customers to follow them. Leah Pizzetti, 10 News.
And from what we understand from county officials, El Pres is the only restaurant that has been shut down by police for violating the reopening rules. We reached out to the restaurant management. They told us, quote, while we believe we were in compliance with Governor Newsom's 12-page mandate for reopening restaurants, after yesterday's experience on our first day of reopening, we now know that we need to take even greater measures to ensure that our customers, our employees, and the community are safe. They also tell us they will make several changes when they're allowed to reopen. With Memorial Day weekend upon us, San Diego's lifeguards are encouraging everyone to stay safe. The holiday generally entices more people to hit the beach. But as our 10 News reporter Jennifer Dela Cruz shows us, not everything has returned to normal.
On a busy holiday weekend, hotels would normally be at full capacity. Restaurants and shops were able to open this week, but for hotels, they still can't let tourists come through their doors. Memorial Day weekend in San Diego will look a little different this year. There are new rules in place at the beaches with no stopping or sitting on the sand, and all parking lots will remain closed.
It's not a normal Memorial weekend, but we're going to make the best of it.
And if you want to stay at the beach overnight, you'll have a hard time getting a room. Bob Roush owns hotels in Carmel Valley and San Marcos. With other restrictions being lifted, he thinks hotels should get a break too.
But leisure travelers would love to come down this weekend, but technically they're not supposed to, and which is very foolish because our economy is already struggling.
Under the stay-at-home order, hotel rooms can only be used for specific purposes. That includes COVID-19 patient mitigation, containment, and treatment, accommodations for essential workers, and to provide housing for the homeless.
We are picking up a handful of reservations, but we should be full. We're always full on Memorial Day weekend, and we're pretty much close to empty other than the essential workers who are already there.
While other industries like restaurants and retail start making up for lost time, hotel owners and workers are still waiting for more restrictions to be lifted.
I don't see anything wrong personally with leisure travelers being here. I differ with the governor and the county on this subject significantly, and I'm sure my fellow hoteliers would agree with me.
Jennifer Dela Cruz, 10 News.
And with more people heading to the beaches for the holiday, county officials say they will be increasing enforcement to make sure that everyone is following the health rules. And temperatures are expected to warm up over this Memorial Day weekend. Our meteorologist, Angelica Campos, has been tracking those changes coming our way. Hello, Angelica.
Hi, Steve. Hello, everybody at home. It is definitely a great day outside, but the temperatures will be warming up. The process is not going to happen overnight, so let's break it all down. Temperatures have actually been cooling down because of a storm to our north, and that cool down has dropped temperatures between 4 to almost 10 degrees. Right now, pretty pleasant around the county, but the heat is going to be cranking up starting on Monday, on Memorial Day, and most likely the heat is going to be impacting most of next week. Coming up in our 7-day forecast, I'll break down the numbers so you guys can be ready for the heat that's coming our way.
Look forward to it, Angelica. Thank you. All right, here is the look at the latest coronavirus numbers in the county. 119 new cases were reported today. That brings our total to just over 6,400. The county also reported one additional death. That total is now 242.
Governor Gavin Newsom says California is weeks away from allowing in-person religious services to resume. His comments come on the heels of President Trump declaring houses of worship essential. And 10 News reporter Mimi Alcala explains the president is now calling on governors across the country to allow them to reopen immediately.
Today I'm identifying houses of worship, churches, synagogue, and mosques as essential places that provide essential services.
When I heard the President of the United States make this announcement, I said, thank God again, now the Commander-in-Chief is weighing in.
Senior Pastor Arthur Hodges at the South Bay United Pentecostal Church was thrilled to hear those words straight from the president. Hodges has stood beside many other faith leaders and called on Governor Newsom to consider religious services as essential. He even challenged the state in court with a lawsuit alleging that Newsom's stay-at-home orders violate religious rights.
We're still in the courts. We're at the Ninth Circuit waiting any moment to either hear a decision.
I call upon governors to allow our churches and places of worship to open right now.
After the president's announcement Friday, Newsom said California has been working with faith leaders to develop its own guidelines for reopening houses of worship safely. But he didn't say it would happen immediately. Right now, churches do fall under phase 3 of his 4-part reopening plan.
We are working to move those guidelines forward, and we expect those guidelines to come out on Monday.
Regardless of the fight he's put up, Hodges says he won't be rushing to reopen right away.
We've been targeting May 31, which is Pentecost Sunday, as a reopen for thousands of churches across California. We want to reopen with proper protocols, procedures.
His main goal is to reopen safely, as he knows on a personal level just how serious COVID-19 can be.
One of my daughters is a nurse here in San Diego hospitals. I've lost 2 of my nearest, closest friends to COVID in the last 30 days. We love our people. We don't want to put them in harm's way.
Mimi Alcala, 10 News.
The CDC released guidelines this afternoon for reopening places of worship amid the pandemic. It recommends the use of face coverings, hand washings, and limiting the size of gatherings. Congressional candidate Darrell Issa is suing to try to stop California from expanding its voting by mail in November's election. Issa is running in the 50th district, which covers much of the East and North County. Earlier this month, Governor Gavin Newsom ordered a mail ballot be sent to every California voter. He says it would be easier for people to vote from home due to the coronavirus. Issa says the governor's order is illegal. Some conservatives believe mail voting is more susceptible to fraud.
San Diego Mayor Kevin Faulconer praised San Diegans today for their compliance with our public health orders. Despite that, he said that police would be out enforcing those orders during this Memorial Day weekend. San Diego Police Chief David Nislight had this to say about the enforcement.
So this Memorial Day weekend, you're going to see a very robust grouping of law enforcement, both on the sand during the day and night, but also you're going to see our Vice section working collaboratively with both ABC and our San Diego Code compliance officers, making certain that our businesses, our restaurants, our dine-in restaurants are following the rules.
San Diego Lifeguard Chief James Garland also said that there will be full lifeguard staffing on our beaches this weekend as well. Mayor Faulconer said he wanted San Diegans to enjoy all the progress that has been made and hopes to continue those gains during our long weekend. There are new warnings today about the controversial drug that President Trump says he is taking to ward off COVID-19. While a new study shows the dangers, ABC's Inez de la Cuetara reveals that hydroxychloroquine is now being tested on military vets.
President Trump speaking to reporters, but taking no questions. If he had, the president would have been asked about a new study in the medical journal The Lancet, where they reviewed nearly 15,000 people given the drugs hydroxychloroquine or chloroquine. And regardless of whether the antibiotic azithromycin is added, the coronavirus patients receiving the treatments were found to be at a much higher risk of death. The study also finding those taking the anti-malaria drugs to treat COVID-19 face a significantly higher risk of developing a type of irregular heart rhythm that can lead to sudden heart failure. The research was based on a retrospective analysis of existing cases, not a controlled randomized study.
It's one of our clearest studies because there were so many tens of thousands of individuals involved.
Trump has repeatedly touted hydroxychloroquine, even claiming he's been taking it along with zinc after consulting his White House physician.
I've taken it, I think, just about 2 weeks. I think it's another day. And I'm still here.
Meanwhile, news today that the Department of Veterans Affairs has administered hydroxychloroquine to 1,300 veterans who tested positive for coronavirus. That's about 13% of the total number of veterans currently being treated for COVID-19 at VA medical facilities.
Why the heck is the Veterans Administration using our veterans who are so important, who have risked their lives for us, in a test that could be really harmful to them?
The World Health Organization now reiterating its warning against using the drug as a treatment for COVID-19.
The current clinical evidence does not support the widespread use of hydroxychloroquine for the treatment of COVID-19.
And with all 50 states now reopening, experts are warning of a possible second wave. CDC Director Dr. Robert Redfield not ruling out a second lockdown, but President Trump says he doesn't want the nation to close again. Inez de la Cuetara, ABC News, Washington.
Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden is now apologizing for comments made in a radio interview. Earlier today, the former vice president spoke with a popular African-American radio host. In a testy exchange, Biden said, quote, "You ain't black if you're struggling to decide to vote for Biden or Trump." Trump's campaign denounced Biden's comments, saying that, quote, "a 77-year-old white man should not tell black Americans how to vote." Investigators have identified the suspect in what they call a terrorism-related shooting at a Texas naval base yesterday. The suspect has been identified as Adam Al-Shali of Corpus Christi, Texas. Officials say the suspected gunman tried to speed through a gate at Naval Base Corpus Christi and opened fire on security staff. He was killed and one sailor received minor injuries. The FBI and SWAT teams raided the suspected gunman's home last night. No word on what they found, but the site intelligence group said the suspect's social media accounts featured jihadi figures.